What I'm looking forward to right now in life is all the exciting things that are happening around me every day. Being able to share with you who I am. To talk to one of my dearest friends. I've known this fellow for quite a long time. And I mean quite a long time. We go back years, and I'm just excited about talking to him because he's just done so much. And I'm proud to be from the Bay, but this fella is a Bay icon. You know what I mean? He's a Bay legend, and I just want to give this fella his flowers from me, and talk to him about what he's doing, everything he's done, because just the history of this person is just insane like that. So if you love hip hop, we just celebrated the 50th year of hip hop and the whole bit. But if you love hip hop, you're going to enjoy this conversation today. And if you don't, then hopefully you stick around and you'll learn something new about, someone who's been very dominant and very active in the genre and pretty much developed the soundtrack and the backstory of Bay Area sound. He's one of those guys who was a curator of that movement, and I'm excited that he decided to talk to me today. We're going to talk about all this different stuff. So anywho, one more minute and then I'll bring him in. Just catching up. He and I catch up all the time, not as often as I like, but when we do, it's something, it's a good time and everything. So he's sent the request in, and yeah, I hope you again enjoy our conversation because it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. All right, well, here we go. There he is, green.
Yeah. Can you hear
Yay,
me?
what's good?
What's happening, Mo?
What's up with it?
Hey,
Oh
man,
my God.
it's been a minute.
It's been a minute, but we're here.
Yeah.
We're present.
Yeah.
And you got green on you, bro. Green is for the money.
You know
Hey.
it. You know it.
Green is
Cash
for the
money talks. Cash money. CMT
Man.
cash money talks. You
Cash
dig? I mean, come on.
money talk. You better talk that talk. You better talk
Yeah,
it.
I
You
know.
already know. Gosh, CMT. I remember asking you that back in the day. What does CMT? You told me. He was like, that. I was like, what the? Okay. I remember being so geeked. I've known you for such quite a long time. It's been years, over 20-something years.
Oh, yeah. Yes, over 20-something. Yeah.
Almost 30.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. You sure it ain't? You sure
Yeah.
was it, man?
I'm telling you. It's been man, and I'm happy to say that because so many of our colleagues, I'm sure, don't have that opportunity to say that, whether they've fallen off or whatever. But we still good, and I'm so happy about that. It's just an amazing thing to say, and we can't take it for granted, right?
Oh no, never that. I always tell my people, health is wealth.
Absolutely.
So take care of yourself because that's the only thing that matters.
Absolutely.
Especially for the people that's around you. They need you here. So take care of yourself. So you be here.
That's it. Well, let's get right into it. I was just like, again, I had to just, say you were one of these curators of a sound that just kind of resonated where we're from, the Bay and everything. So I always start with this question, and I say, who is CMT Miraculous?
Who is CMT Miraculous? Okay.
Yes.
Well, CMT Miraculous now. The Miraculous. So the Miraculous is now the producer turn, hook singer. I'm doing all the hooks.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into all of that.
Yeah, so that's where all the Miraculous, and who gave me that name was shout out to Fo Rax from the Mechanics.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to be in the studio, and he used to be like, CMT Miraculous. I'd be like, man, stop it. So I just
And
said
it just stuck.
it just stuck because he kept saying it. So I
Yeah.
was like, well, I guess that's what it is.
Well, you can't knock it. I mean, people see what they feel or feel what they see, and
Hmm.
it's just manifest. I remember I had a good friend who started calling me. He would call me, he would say Monet, and then he kept saying the Magnificent. He said Magnificent, and
Hmm.
it just stuck.
Yeah.
And then now it's my moniker. I'm like, the Magnificent.
Yeah.
So I totally get that and
Yeah.
understand. So, how long have you been producing or a producer or just been in this genre? And what inspired you to do
Oh,
this?
what inspired me? Oh man. Well, I could say just 80s hip hop inspired me.
Mm,
Um, I was when I was like 10, and I crack up because everybody I know who was this age and started rapping, they rap name was Nature Boy. And that was my
Nature
name.
Boy.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, they say their name was Nature Boy at that. I don't know what it was. Maybe something they was teaching in school about nature,
Uh-huh.
but everybody wanted their name to be Nature Boy.
Wow.
But yeah, that was my rap name at first. But I was really like trying to get into like music instruments. So Earth, Wind and
Mhm.
Fire was like, really kicking
Mm,
at the time. And Let's Groove was the song at the time that inspired me when I was young.
okay.
And that sound, that freaking
Boogie.
boogie, I told
Right.
my mom, I said, I want a keyboard that do that sound.
That was Larry Dunn doing the Larry Dunn.
So she bought me a Casio keyboard, and it didn't have that sound at all. But it was close though. It was like a
Right.
little close. So it was cool for me to get started. And I had a cousin of mine, shout out Dwayne Patton. Uh, he was in this group called the Together Band,
Mm,
and he would see me play on my Casio, and it was like one finger notes at the time, and he'd come be like, "Look, man, let's teach you how to play these chords." He
right.
teach me how to play some Prince stuff. So that was how it started and
Mm,
how I got motivated to do it.
yeah.
And then I hooked up with uh, EA Ski during my teenage
Mm-hmm.
years, and we was in love with hip hop, so we was just rapping,
Mm-hmm.
but we were tired of rapping over instrumentals at the time
Right.
because I was trying to DJ, and actually he was doing the rapping.
You.
I stopped rapping because I just felt like he was a better rapper,
Mm-hmm.
and he seemed more hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So and I seemed like I was into the DJing and the battling and all that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
after a few years of just rapping over instrumentals, that Houdini beat got played out. So, we just after a while we was like, man, we
Which
need
one?
to,
5 minutes of
yeah,
funk?
5 minutes of funk to friends.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right, yeah. So we got tired of that, and we just said, you know what? We asked our parents for equipment and asked them to get, little drum machines and keyboards and stuff like that. So that's how we just got into like make our own beats.
Right.
Yeah. So I can
Wow.
say that was like the beginning of like how we decided, okay, let's start making beats.
Right.
Hmm.
Nice. I mean,
Yeah,
and I'm definitely going to talk about, you as a production team and
for sure.
everything. But before I get into that, I mean, you have produced like for so many artists. I mean, I was looking at your discography again earlier today, and I was like, this my
Yeah.
fam. That's this my music. I'm like,
Yeah.
it just made my heart would fill with joy, and I was just so proud. But I mean, you worked with everyone from like E40 to Ice Cube. I mean, you just can you just give us a quick rundown of just even some more of the your discography. Go
Ooh,
ahead. Go
goodness.
ahead.
Oh man, we did work with, excuse me, SUV, TLC, like you said, Ice Cube, E40, Champion C, Das Effects, some Mr. Mike from Houston, and another group out there, Crime Boss. I'm just trying to go. Oh, Ice T, did some stuff with Ice
Mhm.
T. Man, pretty much all the big boys that you can name. You I've touched it. Spice One was the start though. Spice One was
Yeah.
he had a deal with Jive Records, and the I guess his CEO needed some tracks, and they heard that the tracks we were doing was slapping. So that's how that connect started. And then you know, his first album went gold.
Yeah.
And then he had a shot to do the single for Menace to Society soundtrack, and he asked us if we wanted to do that. I was like, oh hell yeah, we doing that. Yeah,
Classic,
so
man. It's man and soundtrack. I'm gonna get back to the soundtrack. I'm just gonna make me a little mental note because I have something I want to say about that. But keep going.
sure, for sure. And I mean, that's basically how we got our foot in the door. Was that Spice One album? That first album made some noise. Shout out to Ant Banks who did the other half, and Blackjack too. It was a pretty iconic record, which basically, you know, let everybody know it's some hitters in Oakland that's gonna hang with you. So
Man, I mean,
mhm.
just when you said the soundtrack, and I just wanted to make a quick mental note for myself because it was funny. My sister and I just yesterday we were watching Juice.
Oh,
Why was Juice on? We were just watching Juice.
okay.
But when it was over, she said, man, Juice, it was all about that soundtrack though, Mo. And I was like, that's when the
Hmm.
soundtracks was making the movie.
Man, soundtracks was almost better than them albums.
You know, soundtrack. And I remember like when, Menace to Society soundtrack came out. I remember y'all had a joint on that. All
Yep.
kinds of stuff. So it was just
Yeah.
like, and we just think about like all those movies, iconic movies that was coming out, and how the soundtrack really, really pushed.
Yeah.
They kind of pushed each
Oh
other
yeah.
though. When you think?
Yeah. I would say that. I
Yeah,
would
that's
say that.
crazy.
Hmm.
So, and it's so funny. Even you made a mention about Jive Records. One thing I wanted to just ask you, like, having produced so much in a time when the Bay was on fire, like just the pinnacle time,
Hmm.
everything it seemed like everybody coming out the Bay
Oh
was
yeah.
going to Jive
Yep.
Records. I was like, is everybody going to Jive? And I remember it
Man, they
was
were snatching whoever they could because
man, and it
they
was
took
somebody. Was
short.
Mike
His took his
Cardone.
day. Yep.
Mike
They
Cardone.
took.
Shout out to Mike.
Yep. Yep.
It
Took.
was
And I think they had like Souls and Mischief too, right?
yes.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
So
Everybody from
yeah.
the Bay was like going to Jive Records. Do you ever think about how your music, and the things that you created and curated was in a sound became like a soundtrack and a backstory for Bay Area music and the existence of how we felt in the Bay and the nostalgia of it? You ever think about like, especially when you think about the state of hip hop now, what was the morale like? What was the feeling like just
That's
watching
funny.
all this happen?
That's funny you say that because I didn't look at it as I'm painting a, a sound for the Bay or at that time I was just in a competitive mode. I was, you know, the Chronic was cracking at the time, so as a
Right.
producer, you wanted to be like Dre or you wanted your sound to be as big as Dre. So I
Right.
think my focus was let's get our sound to where we can be on the radio like Dr. Dre and all these other artists, So
Hmm.
I didn't realize I was painting a sound, but it was because of all the other artists that were near that I listened to that inspired me to do what I felt should come out
Hmm.
from this part of the California,
Hmm.
Um, although I was inspired by a lot of Southern California stuff, I still, when I leave the studio, I'm listening to, some Delinquents or I'm, Too Short or, so all of that's still in me. So even though it's mainstream, it's still Bay.
Right.
So I guess it wasn't on purpose, it was accident because of, I'm just influenced by the environment.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And coming from the Bay and being a product of the Bay and being a product of the town, like, first of all, my first question is being a product of the town. What does that mean?
Ooh,
What does that mean to you? Being a
oh my
product of the town.
goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, definitely, like most inner cities, you just got to be careful because, you know, everybody's hustling
Yeah.
and they could be hustling you. So, you know, growing up in that, you adapt that mentality as well. You know,
Mm.
you adapt that hustle mentality, like, you know, because people before you can show that they can hustle and make it, that is the mentality that I have, or that, you know, I think that just pedestrians have, period. You know, we come from the Black Panther era,
Mm-hmm.
which also, you know, started, which means that we wanted our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Oakland has always been known to start people starting own businesses, and you know, there's a lot of mom and pop
Yeah.
everything in Oakland, and that Black Panther era started that whole, you know, kind of mentality where we are do it on our own mentality, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So that's how I feel when I think of the Bay and Oakland. It's like we gonna get it done on our own. We ain't gotta depend on nobody.
Right,
Yep.
right. And it's so funny because again, coming up in that time in this era, it was so much music. And I remember because I started touring early and I was going all over the country, but people was when I would say I'm from the Bay, they first day I was like, oh, you know too short or you da 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 da, and
Hmm.
I used to be like, okay, I was proud because I was seeing our music, go beyond our state lines.
Man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything. And it was so funny. I didn't realize how much of an influence that the Bay Area, and especially now, again, you talk about the state of hip hop, where we are to now with, where we were then, and how much of an influence it is even today on
Hmm.
just the
Oh
overall,
yeah. Oh
picture
yeah.
of hip hop. I
Oh
mean,
yes.
just to even think about that was going on. And then again, being from the Bay, everybody talking like us, getting
Oh
our
yeah. Oh
slang,
yes.
you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I mean, because we was, off the heezy for sheezy back in '88,
Oh man, come on now.
you
They
know?
still biting. You know, that's him. I mean, you know, that's the one they're saying now. I mean, come on, you know, that came from here, you know. So I mean, yeah. I mean, but that's, you know, that all started with the pimp, you know, the pimp era too. You know,
Yeah,
that pimp
yeah,
era
that's
started, you know, because exactly, you know, you had to have a code.
yeah,
So the code turned into, you know, the code turned into the music, and then of course everyone around the world is hearing the music, so everybody's hip on the slang. So that's
right,
just how it
right.
go.
And man, I mean, it was just fire after fire, and it seemed like nobody was missing with their music. I mean, production wise and everything. And like I said, proud to have been able to work with you. But it was like you guys was out, Tone Capone,
Yes.
uh, you know,
Mike
I mean, Mike. I mean, everybody was all these producers, all this music
and
coming from the
Banks, shout
Bay.
out and Banks. Yep.
And
Hmm.
Banks,
Yep.
exactly. And I mean, it was just non-stop. And again, it was just it continued to be. Having said that, let's fast forward to where we are now, because our music really went through kind of, I want to say, scenarios. We had everything that which you curated and was part of, but then we got into the hyphy movements and
Oh man.
everything.
Oh
And
yeah.
so where are we with it now? What is our bass sound now? Do we have one?
uh, oh man, I just had this conversation. So I would say the Bay overall would be that dance up tempo, because we still like to dance.
Hmm.
So there's going to always be, you know, those up tempo songs.
Hmm.
So what I noticed, the kids, they do a lot of that music. It's a lot of, you know, like it's dance music. It's drum related.
Hmm.
It's boom clap, and that's about where it's at with us when it comes to Bay music.
Hmm.
But um, any other sound that like I've been hearing it's actually been sounding like a little bit Chicago
Oh,
influence lately.
really?
Yeah, it's been really you know, they have this sound now that they're doing, and I'm hearing it a lot, and it's cool. You know, that's just the way music is. You know, I mean, a
Hmm.
lot of when we was hot, a lot of, you had DJ Mustard going wild with it.
Right.
So I mean, and and he's still winning with it.
Right.
And so, and that was my example. The DJ Mustard is basically, that was our signature, and we still running with it. But
Right.
now it's switching over to like, heavy distorted 808s and up, they are still up tempo and dancing, but it's just a different it's a different feel that they have coming from Chicago that I see we're adapting just a little bit.
Okay. Well, that's good to
Yeah.
know. Again, as we hear the sound change and
Oh
everything,
yeah.
but I do know you put on the Mo Bay classics, and we
Oh,
still.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah. That's funny because I don't. They talk about how Beyonce, go through these decades. I haven't got a hit in the dubs yet, but I'm working
Yet.
on that.
Yet.
But I have had some, 90s and 2000 hits. So, I'm blessed to say that I was able to keep up with the, changing of the times, and that's, and I listen to music. So if it change up, I'm going to see what I could add to what I'm doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's funny you make a mention about just, changing in music and everything. Do you have any favorite artists that you work with, or like sessions that made you say, I say this thing, like when you say something that made you say, damn, or something that made you say, whoa, I don't know.
The first artist that did that was Spice One,
Mm,
because it just seems like every time we worked on a new song, he had a new flow that was just ridiculous.
right,
It was always something like, yeah, where'd that one come
right,
from? When you thought he was just gonna keep coming with that same style,
right.
it was like, oh, okay, you do this,
Mm-hmm.
So and then my favorite artist right now is the one that I'm working with right now is Israel.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a very talented cat. He's been around the town for a long time. He used to be called Mr. Town. He
Okay.
changed his name to Israel, and I think like he's good as far as making records. He's if you hear about how Eminem make records, like he's real intricate and he's real technical.
I
That's
work
how I
with
feel
him.
about Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
feel about Israel.
Mm-hmm.
He real technical, but not in like how to spit, but he's like he really thinks about, you know, what's gonna stay in my head, or
Mm-hmm.
what's gonna be the hook, or
Mm-hmm.
what can I say to grab them. He really thinks about the consumer side of it. So that's who I'm messing with right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's your woo. And that
yeah.
was I said damn, but it's really like your woos and your woes. You'd be like woo and oh
Mm-hmm.
whoa. That's
Yeah,
that's what's up. Israel, yeah, and I know you
yeah,
guys dropped
yeah.
Vibe.
Yes,
Tell us
yes,
about
yes.
Vibe.
Uh so man, so Vibe was a record. It was kind of like, um how can I describe it? So we're working on this record called Ships. Short for relationships.
Okay.
Um, and I was totally against like doing verses on songs because I'm not trying to be no rapper. I've been producing, but I do want to do hooks, and I do lay hooks and for other people if they want, even if they want to lay it, I just lay it for other people.
Right.
So he saw that I was doing stuff like that. And he was like, man, we just need to do a record together. It might just turn out to be dope. So we worked on like 2 songs, and they were on
Mm-hmm.
relationship stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So which is totally different from the Vibe record. But most of the songs that we were seemed to be picking were just like laid back and just on some almost like KBLX,
Okay,
smooth,
KBLA.
but with some hip hop drums though.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
So that's dropping next month in May. It's called Ships.
Nice.
And but we were like, okay, but we still need something for the streets.
Right.
So as me, I'm always working on beats every day. So, that one just happened to be, all right, that sounds like that'll be in some trunks around the neighborhood. So
Okay.
I shouted to him. He was like, hey, let's go,
Yeah.
man. Let's get something cracking. And we didn't even think, we just have something out.
Uh-huh.
But it just started catching on. We was like, oh, okay, they like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Miss Jackson Media Group says play Jack Johnson, and I heard Jack Johnson the other day as I was
Okay.
doing my journalism research on my boy, and I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
okay.
Right on.
What was the
Yeah.
inspiration behind that?
Oh.
What I'm looking forward to right now in life is all the exciting things that are happening around me every day. Being able to share with you who I am.